I couldn't stand, like if I was in a lineup somewhere, I couldn't stand for any more than 3 or 4 minutes.
Gary, how did you find Carnivore?
I didn't actually. It found me. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. I'm into cars, hot rods. I build them, I race them. And a lot of us like minded people, we hang out together. And I noticed one of my buddies, Trevor, he wasn't quite as pudgy as he used to be. And I asked him, "What are you doing?" I was pretty big at that time. And he says, "Keto. My wife got me on it." I says, "Oh, cool." So I kind of looked into it for a bit and everything and didn't think much of it. Thought it was a good idea, but I just never really went forward with it that much. And that came and went. I guess it would be June 2021. I got kidney stones and I was laid up in bed for the whole month of June. And I wasn't doing anything but writhing in pain, drinking water, and eating scrambled eggs because that's all I felt like eating. I didn't want to put any effort into it. I just wanted to put it in my mouth and swallow it. Well, I did that for a month. I only ate about every second or third day. I lost 35 pounds, but I slowly gained it back. And I think I was about 360 at that point in time. And I went up to 400 pounds by October 2023. And I thought, something has to change here. I took my garbage bags out to the curb for pickup, which is about 6 meters from my front steps, small front yard. And I couldn't make it back to the house. And I had to sit on my front yard on the lawn for 10 minutes and catch my breath. And yeah, that opened my eyes, the fact that they were almost going to be closed permanently. So I started Carnivore December 1st, 2023. I'm looking up at my notes here. And that was a godsend. I used to snore, sleep apnea, acid reflux. All those were gone in a week. Just gone. I snored for decades. I mean, my wife would have to get up and go sleep in the other room. That's how bad it was. And it was gone. The acid reflux had me at the hospital a couple of times because I would completely stop breathing when it would burn my throat so bad. And that alone was worth the price of admission. Just getting rid of that. About a week into it, I was sitting on my couch and watching TV, and my grandson was sitting next to me, and I was laughing and carrying on. And she looked at me and she says, "What's wrong with you?" Because I was just so chipper. And I looked at her and I went, "I don't know." Like this, right? I just was so elated. My whole outlook changed in that short a time. The day that I started Carnivore, I was on 13 medications for diabetes, pain, neuropathy, my heart, and of course, statins. Well, that day that I started, I said, well, this is either going to work or it's going to kill me. And I took all my pills, put them away. The only thing I kept taking was my insulin. I was taking 3 insulins. Let's see here. I was taking glycoside, Toujeo, Fiasp, and Victoza, and also Januvia. They kept switching me back and forth, but I couldn't continue to take the Januvia. I had side effects. And I took them and I cut them down and I cut them down and I cut them down, the amount that I was taking. In 7 days, I went from 230 units of long-acting insulin per night to 60 in a week. I continued to cut it down. A couple of weeks after that, I was at 30. And a few weeks after that, I was at 10. And then I stopped altogether. I did have to go back on it now and again, just little spikes, things that would come up, eat something I shouldn't have or what have you. And now I have totally stopped all my medications for the last 4 months. I don't even take an aspirin.
That's
Nothing.
fantastic.
Yeah, it works. To everybody out there that has their doubts, don't. Just do it. It works. It saved my life. And I can say that like without any trepidation whatsoever. It's it was all, let me see here. I guess it was all meant to be because Hurricane Sandy blew through Canada here. We got the end of it in 2012. And I had a tent style storage building outside and it blew to bits. And I went outside to take all my stuff from the tent and put it in my garage. And so I went inside the garage and I unlatched the lock, spring loaded lock. Keep that in mind. And I went outside, gathered everything up, put it by the garage door, bent down to open the garage door. Well, that damn latch had gone back over and locked the door. And I gave a reef on that door to open it, and I tore my right bicep almost in half. Now, I had previously been doing a shutdown at one of the petrochemical plants. I'm a Boilermaker welder, or I was. And for that whole time on the shutdown, I was on about a 6 foot long torque wrench, tightening up nuts about 4 inches across. A lot of heavy working, a lot of hard pulling, and I had pulled a muscle at my bicep. And I was off work for a while shortly before this happened with the garage door, and it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And that ended my career. Done. They wouldn't let me go to work. They said because it could happen again. And I climbed 3, 4, 500 feet in the air, ladders up the side of these big towers. And that was that, end of the career. So it was for a reason, I guess, because 2 years later, my daughter Shelby, she passed away 2014, April 5th. And she had just had a little boy. Sorry. So I have him. We've had him since he was 8 months old. He's going on 12 now. And if I wasn't off work on disability, we wouldn't have got him because my daughter passed away in another town a few hours away. And before we could get there, the Children's Aid Society scooped in, snatched up my grandson, and let us have him. We had to fight in court to get custody of him, my own grandson. So after all that was done, I went to a really dark place for a while. And when we got to Hamilton, Ontario, it's a couple hours away from where I live, and we went in the hospital. And there she was on life support, and it was just until we got there kind of thing. She'd already gone. But the hardest thing I've ever had to do was shut that machine off. And when I did, it was hellish. First thing that popped into my mind, and I don't know why, was I'm going to suffer for 10 years for this. And I did. Yeah. 10 years later, April 5th, the day she died, it was like somebody lifted a weight off of me. And everything changed. I served my sentence. That's how I look at it. But it's all good now. These are tears of joy because I've got my grandson. I didn't expect this interview to go down this path, but so anyway, back to the health. I went and got an angiogram done by a specialist, and he told me, Gary, your arteries are spotless. I wish I was as healthy as you. And I said, lovely. So I went back hometown, and my doctor says, we're going to put you on an ACE inhibitor, a beta blocker, and a statin. I said, what for? He goes, preventative. Well, I'm no doctor, so I did as I was told. For 10 years, I took them. And I had no ambition, none. Didn't want to get out of bed. Get out of bed at 10 o'clock, go back for a nap at 2, right? And just all around shitty life, bad moods, you know, cranky, hangry, because I was hungry all the time, eating carbs, eating lots of vegetables. You know, like this redness on my face and stuff is a cross between rosacea and oxalate dumping. And because I ate a lot of what the doctors told me I should eat, thought I was eating healthy. You know, you hear this story all the time. And I decided that that's enough, you know, and I started looking into things. I have lots of friends that are really sick and tired of listening to me, but talking about the diet, carnivore, and I have a lot that have taken a look at me and went, holy shit, you were 400 pounds a year ago. Where'd you go? You know? And I said, yeah. I said, you can do it too. Told my one buddy's father, he's on it now. He's trying. He's lost a few pounds in a few short weeks. He's in his 70s. Didn't think it was possible. And his son had told him, look at Gary. Look what Gary did. Try it. So I sat down with him and we had a discussion about it with his dad. And he's giving it a go. And I've got friends in Florida that are doing it. I've got cousins in Australia that are doing it, you know, and more people are looking at me. And these are guys that are in the car club and stuff like that. And there's quite a few of them not in the best of shape, have their ailments, have trouble walking, things like this. I mean, and these guys are all younger than me. And I'm just flying by them like I got a jet in my bum, you know?
Right. So, I mean, the the visual changes must be enough to convince some people to give it a go. Like, you're over 400 pounds. What are you now?
This morning, 263. My lowest I've been was 259.8, something like that, for about a day. But you go up and down, right? I mean, that's the way of a diet. But as long as it keeps trending upward, it doesn't matter if it's doing this a little bit, as long as it's trending upward, you know, or
Mm.
downward, whatever way you want to look at it.
So that's over 100 pounds. I
That's
mean, you
140
must,
pounds.
yeah, you must feel very, very different.
I feel like a new person. My wife has never seen me below 235. That's how big I was when I met her 33 years ago. When I was younger, I used to bodybuild. I was a weightlifter, a cyclist, and pretty healthy. You know, no sickness, and wasn't a big drinker at that point in time. I quit drinking 2012. I That's when I found out that I was diabetic. So severe diabetic. I was drinking 2 liters of water from the time I went to bed at night till the time I got up in the morning. And my wife, as I said, she's a nurse. She goes, honey, you're diabetic. You need to go see a doctor. I'm not diabetic. Well, yeah, I was. So let that be a lesson to you boys out there. Listen to your wives. But yeah, I'm doing great now. Um, Started back at the gym for a while there. Then I decided to buy my own equipment, which I have here at home now. No longer going to the gym. And yeah, life has really, really changed. Like I couldn't put my feet into shoes. My feet were so swollen with water, inflammation, edema.
So that's gone
So
away?
all of it's gone. My legs are like toothpicks now. Like seriously, like I lost a lot of muscle because I had a lot of muscle to carry my 400 pounds around, for a long time. But I noticed I got into fasting. I got into carnivore. I have done 3 7-day fasts now, water fasts, several 2 3 4 day fasts. The hardest part's the first 24 hours, 36 hours. After that, the sky's the limit. Your whole being just feels better. You start on the ketones, you stop with the glucose. I mean, even if you're just eating meat and eggs, it still gets turned to glucose. Well, I eat 120 eggs a week. I eat 10 dozen eggs a week myself. Okay. Pounds and pounds of fatty red meat. And I keep hearing from people, it's calories in, calories out. I'm eating more calories now than I ever did before. And I'm dropping weight like it's hot, you know, and they can't get their mind wrapped around it. They don't understand it's all about hormones and insulin. Then,
Right.
no, just go to the gym and run 10 miles. All that's going to do is raise my cortisol. I'm going to stop
Mm.
losing weight, make me sweaty. That's about it. I walk,
Right.
which is much better than running or really, really strenuous exercise. I do resistance training, right, with the weights. And I couldn't bend my right knee for osteoarthritis. I had a list of ailments like you wouldn't believe. And I couldn't barely bend my right knee for the pain. And then about 2 months after I joined the gym, I was doing leg presses with 500 pounds. Yeah, I'm only 5'10", 5'10 and a half. I'm a large frame fella, but you know to do that, I was sitting there in that leg press machine, and I just started laughing. You know, I just started laughing after about the fourth rep. I just started laughing, and I had to stop. But
Yeah.
it's
So
incredible.
just when you mention your height there, I mean, you're 2 inches taller than me, but I mean, we're a similar height. I'm just I'm just I can't imagine how uncomfortable it must have been to be over 400 pounds.
Yeah, I couldn't stand, like, if I was in a lineup somewhere, I couldn't stand for any more than 3 or 4 minutes. That's my metabolic health was absolute shite. I had to keep going from leg to leg, taking the pressure off, and uh, couldn't stand flat footed really, like with both legs on the ground at the same time. My balance was always off. And again, that probably had a lot to do with the meds as well, is my thinking, right? Because my blood pressure was, everything is too high as far as a doctor's concerned, right? But I was on those meds, and my cardiologist, a specialist in London, Ontario, it doesn't get any better. He told me I was absolutely spotless. And then all of a sudden, my doctor's putting me on all these meds. And they wonder why I'm not happy with him today. Since I have quit these meds, they have phoned me 3 times, at which I got quite upset with them the third time. And their words were, you have to go back on all these meds that you quit, or you're going to die of a heart attack or a stroke. We care about you, Gary. And I said, yeah, well, you didn't seem to care about me during COVID when you wouldn't let me come in for a visit that I needed. No, I was told no. So getting back to that, they were like, you have to wear a mask, you're spreading disease and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not putting a mask on. Now, I work in the petrochemical industry. Um, Industrial hygiene takes in to entail pretty much every kind of personal protective equipment there is on Earth. Okay. I know what masks stop what. There is not a mask on the face of the earth, short of an Ebola suit, that will stop a virus. Masks will not stop it. A respirator will not stop it. A plastic bucket with eye holes cut out of it will not stop it. I've seen all sorts of things. I went to Home Depot the one day and there's a guy walking in there and he's got a 5-gallon water jug with the bottom of it cut out, and he has little U shape that fit over his shoulders. And he was walking around Home Depot with a 5-gallon see-through blue water jug. You know the ones I'm talking about. And I just couldn't bear it. But nobody gave him a second look. I was the one getting all the dirty looks because I didn't have a mask on. Absolute nonsense,
Yeah. So speaking about how, your doctor cared about you, have you been back to see them since you got off all your meds?
I got a new doctor who is an internist. I haven't fired the old one yet. I have not seen him in a long time. In fact, I hadn't seen him in years because what he got onto was bringing in new doctors and let them do all the work. And he would sit in the back room and rubber stamp things. He's got nurse practitioners, he has new doctors, young doctors, indoctrinated doctors with no experience that are trained to sell pills, as we all know. Trained, oh, what are your symptoms? Okay, here, take this. They do not try to get to the root cause any longer. They want to manage your symptoms because a cured patient is a lost customer. So my doctor got mad because I wouldn't come in and see him. I'm off all of the prescriptions that he wrote me. I don't take them anymore. But why do I have to come and see you? You need to be here every 3 months. No, I don't. It's my life. I decide where I'm going to go, not you. Oh, we could drop you as a patient. I said, because I won't do as I'm told and come in every 3 months. I said, well, doctor, I says, you go ahead and do that. I says, and I'll sue you for patient abandonment. Phone got quiet. And I says, you have no right to threaten me with that. And they just think that they're Lord, what their word is goes. And I'm Scottish. Don't do that to me. No, that doesn't work. So I just stick my feet in deeper, stick my heels in deeper. Anyway, long story short, I don't deal with him anymore. He got a hold of the pharmacy and said, anything Mr. Fraser needs filled, his other doctor can do it. Well, he should have been doing it anyway. It was just insulin. Right? My internist is my doctor for my diabetes. But this new doctor I have, he's fantastic. He doesn't push anything. He mentioned statins once because he thought my cholesterol was a little high. And I says, nope, no, there's never going to be another statin go in my mouth, ever. He's never mentioned it again since. I told him what I do for a diet. He thought that was very interesting. He asked me what it was I eat, and I told him. I said, I'm at that point in time, this was about 7 or 8 months ago. I said, I eat 3 flats of eggs a week. That's 30 in a flat. So there's about 90 eggs. Now I'm up to 4 now. I eat 120 a week now. And of course, he looked at my albumin and all these on the blood tests. And he goes, well, that's to be expected. He says, your cholesterol's high. He says, but because of your diet. And I says, yep, nothing wrong with high cholesterol. We need it to live. I said, lowering cholesterol is a bad idea. He says, how so? So I started to educate him. And I use that word in jest because he's a very smart man. But I put him on to Jason Fung. I put him on to Ben Bickman. I put him on to Ken Berry, Anthony Chafee, Sean Baker, you, whole bunch of stuff. And I said, there, read that's the stuff that they write. I said, and watch their videos. If you want to know what I'm doing, they can explain it a lot better than I can at the moment. All I do is eat meat and eggs and got rid of everything else. And he says, okay. I gave him a list of some of the vitamins I was taking. He was happy with that. One thing he was worried about, well, where do you get your vitamin C? And I said, out of the meat. Cows eat grass. Grass is full of vitamin C. And I eat a lot of cow. So he's like, okay. So anyway, he got all my blood work a few times and he's like, you seem to be doing great. And I said, I am doing great. I feel fantastic. I said, I don't care about what my cholesterol level is at. I says, you do know what statins do, right? I said, all these people with brain fog and they got a bad heart because the CoQ10's gone. The statin takes care of that. Well, then the doctor wants to write you a prescription for CoQ10. So there's another prescription you got to get filled. And he says, he doesn't say a lot, but when he knows you're right, he just kind of, okay. And yeah, we get along pretty good, which is nice for a change. And I actually have an appointment with him 13th of this month. I'm getting my blood work done this Thursday.
It's nice to not be in an adversarial position with them, right? That they actually listen to you.
When I have to go see my other doctor, I started taking my blood pressure for them at home before the appointment. Because when I would get to the appointment, I was so wound up because I did not want to be there. I did not want to face them and their accusations and their ridicule. And I have felt like exploding more than once and just bit my lip, because I want to get in trouble. But it's at that point. And I'm fed up with him. He's greedy. He's just a money maker, a businessman. And here's the thing. They've got about 14 girls that sit in the office on the phones all day long, making appointments. And I was in there the one day, and they come out, and it's way past my appointment time, which is typical. And I said, anybody else in here got an appointment for 10 a.m.? About 7 people put their hand up. That's how much they're overbooking. And you're lucky if you get 5 minutes. You know what I mean? You're lucky if you get 5 minutes. But they can diagnose you in that 5 minutes. They can prescribe something for you in that 5 minutes, and they can take your insurance card in that 5 minutes. So
yeah, it's pretty bad. So day to day, you mentioned that you're eating a lot of eggs, but
day to
day, what does the menu look like, and how often are you eating?
I had a dozen eggs for breakfast this morning. I'll probably have some more with a steak tonight. I live about 500 feet from the farmer's market, so I get them fresh every week. And I buy my meat typically off of a butcher or from the farmer directly and have it butchered. I like lamb. I get New Zealand lamb from Costco, believe it or not. They have beautiful grass-fed, grass-finished New Zealand lamb. Very tasty. Nobody in the house likes it besides me, so I'm good there. I get to have it all. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I do eat a bit of chicken thighs. They got more fat, and I use a lot of butter. Like when I make a dozen or 18 eggs for breakfast, I like to scramble my eggs. I'll cook them in butter, and then I'll put like 3-4 tablespoons of butter on top of them. Let all that melt in. A whole bunch of pink Himalayan salt. I can't think of anything better. I would rather eat that than a ribeye, to be honest with you. I've always loved eggs. I've always loved eggs, even as a kid. Uh, and now I get to indulge and not feel guilty.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's 2 meals a day typically?
Typically 2 meals a day. When I really want to drop the weight, I'll go to OMAD. I'll go to 1 meal a day, uh, about 5 or 6 o'clock, and it will be a big meal. It will consist of a dozen eggs or more, and a 1 or 2 pound ribeye, or half of a roast. And I like to eat, but the weight still comes off. It still comes
Yeah,
off.
it's
You know,
it just it feels like magic, right? Because
oh,
we've
it
been
does.
raised with this feeling of, well, the more volume of the you eat, the bigger you're gonna be, and then,
Yeah,
to be in this situation where you
yeah.
can eat more volume than you ever have before, and it just the weight comes off is a bit crazy, right?
It's amazing. I've been listening to a lot of the metabolic health guys. Dr. Ben Bickman, Jason Fung, and I mean, I have watched, oh Lord, hundreds of hours of videos. When I get into something, I get right into it. Right, like I immerse myself in it. So every waking moment that I have that I'm not doing something, I'm watching one of these videos and learning. And I I've got a big mouth. I'm not ashamed of it. I'll go and tell people all about it. And some people learn. Some people think I'm nuts. Some people want to try it. Some people don't. I find the biggest here in Canada, a lot of people like their booze. They love their beer. It's like Australia that way. And it's hard to get them, or Scotland for that matter. It's hard to get them off of the booze. Well, I'll do it, but can I still have a little wine? And I'm like, you're just going to take longer to get to where you want to go, and you might not get to where you want to go if you keep that up. I said, just why don't you just quit for a month and see how it goes? And the look of horror on their face to think of not having their whatever it is they drink for a month. Holy, but I'm glad I quit. Now it's been since 2012. Now I'm all done with that nonsense. I sowed my oats. I had a lot of fun, growing up, and now it's time to look after myself for the future. See, I got a little man here to take care of, you know, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be going anywhere until he's ready to be on his own, you know, and that might
Mm,
be 30 years. I hope,
right.
but
So
yeah.
yeah, there's nothing better than knowing that you're not gonna wake up with that hangover tomorrow morning
Oh
because
yeah,
you've
oh yeah.
like, you don't realize it at the time, but you're killing every morning, by drinking, and then when you've actually given it up and you see someone, I don't know, drunk on the train or drunk on the street or something like that, and you just look at them and you think, "It's so nice not to have to be there anymore."
Yeah, you got that right. You got that right. Yes,
Yeah,
I don't miss that at all. We used to
yeah,
we'd go to the bar at night. My friend Jack and I, he's from Newfoundland, and it would always end the same way. Everybody back to Jack's house, right? So we'd get the guitars out, you know. He played, I played, some other people we knew, bring your instruments, and we would party all night long. and in the morning have a big cook up, feed everybody that was still alive, you know. And it was great times. Don't get me wrong, great times, memories I'll cherish forever. But there comes a time where you have to hang that up. You know, if you want to live, I mean, there's difference between 20s and 30s and 60s and 70s and 80s, you know, and there's a
Yeah,
time where you
definitely.
have to hang that up.
Mm,
And mine was 2012. And the decision was made for me because of my diabetes. It was made for me. So it was pretty easy for me to quit. I had tried quitting a few times before that, and it was just still too much fun, you know. But that when the time came, that was that. You just do it, you
right.
know. That's why I can't understand people that don't want to give something that's healthy a try. They have been so blindsided by society and by doctors and by, you know, big pharma, big grocery stores, that they don't believe there's any other way. You
Right.
know, they can't see the forest for the trees.
Mm.
You know, and the way
Well,
I look at it is, you know, you've got big pharma, big grocery stores, and the doctor. You get sick from the food at the grocery store. You go see your doctor. He sends you to a prescription for big pharma. They're making money. They're making money. They're making money, and you're getting sicker. You know,
yep, yep,
and they
exactly.
people don't get it. It's a conspiracy.
Yeah. So, on that point, let's say someone does decide, okay, well, it's time for me to do something about my health. And they come to you and they say, okay, Gary, how can I start with carnivore? What would you recommend they do?
I would recommend that they start by dropping one carbohydrate a week and take their time to get into it. Don't just do it cold turkey. You're going to end up with diarrhea. You're going to end up with keto flu. You know, you're going to end up with hunger. Uh, you're going to have massive cravings. Just the way I did it was I started, okay, no more soda, no more potatoes, no more rice, no more bread. I was daft for bread. Good bread was, if there is such a thing as good bread, but you know, tasty bread, not just the plain white stuff. Good, you know. Anyway, at least that's what we thought it was, good bread. And I stopped all of that. And then when the day came to switch to carnivore, I said to my wife, I'm not going to eat anything but meat and eggs from now on. And she kind of, okay, you know, I said, gonna do it. Well, it's 522 days today that I've been on carnivore, and I'll never go back. Uh, I'll never go back. The only thing that I had to eat was an apple a couple of times, small apple, because my blood sugar dropped so low. I was on a fast, and about the fifth day into my 7 day fast, my blood sugar went down to a 2.3, and I was really getting lightheaded and dizzy. And I thought, I can push through this. And Kathy, my wife, says, no. So she came in, hands me the apple. She says, take a bite out of that. So I did. And it worked. You know, it got me back up to like a 4.7 or something like that. But lately, I have been experiencing, since I quit all my meds, all the insulins, I am having a real hard time keeping the glucose numbers down. Um, about, oh, geez, maybe a month in after stopping all the diabetes meds, I would check my blood in the morning. It'd be like 17. No, it's supposed to be 4.7. It'd be like 17. But according to Jason Fung, you can't get rid of insulin resistance or diabetes by taking insulin, because insulin is the fat hormone. So you keep taking insulin, you can't get your number down, you take more, you force your number down, but that makes you fat. And it stores it And then you become insulin resistant. So you need more and more and more for you to keep that number down. Well, now I'm about 10 in the mornings. So it's coming down. It took a while, but it's coming down. And like I say, that's absolutely no medication at all for the last 4 months for diabetes. 17 to 10, I'm good with that. I've got to get it down to 5 or whatever, and that may take another 4 months. I don't know. I still have 45 pounds to lose. And, my goal weight's about 225, something like that. And if I get there, I get there. If it takes another year, it takes another year. I mean, no big deal. But yeah, I love the way I love the way that I eat, and now I I really do get into fasting. I mean, it sucks the first day, yeah, the first 36 hours, but after that, the brain just turns on. You notice things you didn't see before. You pick up on stuff that people don't get. You know, you're quick. You know,
Yeah,
and
it's almost
I
like everything becomes clearer.
yeah, big time. All the BS that's going on in the world, you understand it now. And just people's attitudes and things. I'm much more. I used to be severely depressed for like 10 years, as I was saying earlier, and now, not so much. Not so much. A lot of
Like,
people say, well, look at the guy who jokes around and laughs a lot, and he's probably the one that hurts the most. That was me for 10 years. This smile's real, right? I'm good now. I'm
that's awesome.
perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So Gary, if people want to reach out to you, do you have any social media or any way of getting in contact?
I do. I have it all written down here in front of me. You have my email there that you can give out. I also have a Facebook account that is called Carnivore Health, Strictly Protein and Fat. I've had that since the beginning of my journey. So if you want to check up on what I was up to, just join that Facebook page. There's only 2 people on it now, and I'll tell you why. There's me and one other fella that I met at the drag strip the other day. Facebook was giving me a hard time when I got this new phone, and I was trying to transfer everything over from my old phone to this one. And I lost I had 2 Facebook accounts, Gary Fraser and one Gary John, which is my middle name. And so I had those 2 accounts, and I needed those 2 accounts because Facebook was always fact checking me and frowning on my political opinions. Imagine having a political opinion in Canada under the Trudeau regime. So I was constantly getting thrown in Facebook jail. So I had to have 2 accounts. Well, anyway, when I wanted to switch everything over, I made a new account because they took away the first one. They said it was a fake account. Well, it wasn't. I'd been using it for years. They said it was a fake account. But it's all sorted out now. But to save any of my friends from getting any viruses or anything like that, I deleted all the members for their own safety off of my Carnivore page, and I put it on an archive. So the archive came off at the beginning of May, beginning of April, 1st of May. So it's back up and running again. So if anybody wants to go to Carnivore Health, strictly protein and fat, my journey's on there. I do weight updates every day or so, lots of pictures of the food I eat, that sort of thing. Pertinent videos, yourself, Anthony Chafee, guys like that, you know. And I'll put a link, or I'll actually put the video up there, or maybe some of the shorts that they do, just to kind of keep people's attention, and let them know that there's doctors out there and professors who think the same way I do, and I'm not just some numbskull who's going to die one of these days with clogged arteries. I get that a lot. Oh, but your cholesterol, but you're going
Right.
to die. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
die with a smile on my face when I'm 94, like my mother did.
Yeah. Um, So I'll link to your email and the Facebook page in the show notes. Gary, thank you so much for coming on and
Well,
sharing your
thank you for having me. It was wonderful.